10 Western TV shows to watch next if you love Yellowstone. Now that Kevin Costner's Yellowstone has ended, fans of the massively popular show may be looking for a new Western series to watch, and these 10 options are perfect picks. Though there are several Yellowstone spin-off shows, and several more shows written by Taylor Sheridan, Yellowstone fans may be looking for something new to watch. After the series finale of Yellowstone, the sprawling story of the Dutton family and their fight to preserve their land has left a hole in many viewers' hearts, and one that could be filled by a new, equally engaging story. Luckily, the Western genre has plenty to offer beyond the Sheridan verse. From more classic Westerns set in the 19th century to gritty revisionist takes on the genre, and even neo-Western police procedurals, there are plenty of great Western TV shows out there that can take Yellowstone's place. Almost every part of the acclaimed show has been remade in another series, and these 10 great Western shows all recapture some of Yellowstone's magic. One of the best replacements for Yellowstone, 2012's Hatfields and McCoys, also has something very obvious in common with it: Kevin Costner. Costner starred in Hatfields and McCoys as William Anderson Hatfield, opposite Bill Paxton as Randolph McCoy. The show, as its title suggests, follows the infamous feud between the Hatfield and McCoy families along the border of West Virginia and Kentucky from 1863 to 1891. Costner is once again great as the patriarch of a powerful and influential family, and Paxton proves to be a great rival on par with Thomas Rainwater, Gil Birmingham. Aside from putting Kevin Costner at the head of another powerful Western family, Hatfields and McCoys is great for Yellowstone fans for several other reasons. Though it's set further east than Montana, Hatfields and McCoy's timeline makes it even more of a Western than Yellowstone. It also features the same type of massive cast filled with colorful characters that Yellowstone was beloved for, and the same type of decade-spanning, sprawling story. On top of it all, Hatfields and McCoys is just good television, and it's better than several of Kevin Costner's Western movies. Not every show can replicate Kevin Costner's star power in Yellowstone, but Lohmeyer was able to find a main character who was just as magnetic as John Dutton IE. Lohmeyer follows Sheriff Walt Longmire, Robert Taylor, as he uses his own common sense and powers of deduction to solve murders across a massive and understaffed county in Wyoming. Walt is every bit as stubborn, strong, and determined as John IE. He just traded in unruly children and a massive ranching empire for unruly deputies at a massive police jurisdiction. Lohmeyer is one of many detective shows that are reminiscent of Sherlock, but since it deals more in cattle rustlers, revolvers, and cowboys, it's very similar to Yellowstone. Another major reason Lohmeyer seems so reminiscent of Yellowstone is because of the balancing act Walt has to play between his own Wyoming county and the nearby Cheyenne Reservation. Because of their proximity, and because of Henry Standing Bear, Lou Diamond Phillips, Walt's best friend, Lohmeyer deals with questions of true justice and seems extremely similar to John IE's battle with Thomas Rainwater. Long before Yellowstone became the biggest TV title in the Western genre, Deadwood was the premier piece of cowboy media. Deadwood follows a massive and star-studded cast, including Timothy Olyphant, Ian McShane, and Molly Parker, as they make a life in the old Western town of Deadwood, South Dakota through the 1870s. Despite being set far before Yellowstone, Deadwood was incredibly topical to the early 2000s and set the bar for prestige television. It was so well received that Deadwood is widely considered one of the best TV shows ever made. Yellowstone fans are also much more likely to enjoy Deadwood than most viewers would, even despite its widespread acclaim. Like the Duttons, the cast of Deadwood features so many interesting and well-developed characters that it's hard to pick a single favorite or a single most hated. The fight for the town's development is also so complex and beautifully woven together that it seems like Yellowstone was trying to emulate it. If any Western show could be considered even better than Yellowstone, it would have to be Deadwood. Another of Timothy Olyphant's Westerns is also a great replacement for Yellowstone. Olyphant played U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens in Justified for 6 seasons as he tracked down criminals across Kentucky and delivered his own brand of frontier justice in the modern day. Justified also boasted one of the best rivalries on television for a long time, between Olyphant's Givens and Walton Goggins' Boyd Crowder. Anyone who liked the moral ambiguity and frontier justice of Yellowstone is sure to enjoy Justified. One of many reasons to watch Justified is its star, Timothy Olyphant. In the years since Deadwood, Olyphant has become one of the few remaining legends of the Western genre in modern times. He starred in half a dozen great Western movies and shows, and Olyphant may be one of the only Western actors who can hold a candle to Kevin Costner as a leading man. If John Dutton Ivey was your favorite part of Yellowstone, Raylan Givens could help heal the sting of his death. Josh Brolin, another rising star in modern Westerns, recently threw his hat in the ring to replace Yellowstone. Brolin stars in Outer Range as Royal Abbott, a Wyoming rancher embroiled in a property battle with his neighbors who discovers a mysterious black void on his land. Aside from the supernatural occurrences the show is built around, Outer Range still features land battles, Western settings, family drama, and more that Yellowstone fans will find familiar. As an added bonus, Brolin is impeccable in the role of Royal Abbott, and he's every bit as interesting as John II. Outer Range is probably the least similar show to Yellowstone on this list, but that doesn't mean it isn't worth giving a chance. It's a unique blend of the neo-Western and science fiction genres, and while Yellowstone focused exclusively on the former, Outer Range handles both impeccably well. Even viewers who aren't normally sci-fi fans will find something to love about Outer Range. From its mind-bending story to its impressive visual effects and cinematography. In short, though it may be out of some audiences' comfort zones, Outer Range is well worth taking a chance on. Beth Dutton, Kelly Riley, is easily one of the best parts of Yellowstone, so a show that is basically predicated upon an entire old Western town filled with Beths is a recipe for success. Codless follows the town of La Belle, which is almost exclusively inhabited by women after a massive mining disaster. There's no shortage of strong personalities in La Belle, however, and the entire town bands together to take on roaming outlaw Frank Griffin, Jeff Daniels. It's easy to imagine Beth being based on any number of La Belle's residents, which is quite a compliment. Godless is perhaps one of the best shows at emulating something Yellowstone was known for. Throughout Yellowstone's 5 seasons, there's an almost oppressive number of problems and crises that the Duttons have to solve, and the Yellowstone Ranch is almost always in some form of peril. Godless perfectly recaptures the all-encompassing hopelessness that made Yellowstone so suspenseful, and it perfectly applies it to a new century. It may not be the most uplifting show, but there's a reason so many people loved Yellowstone's often anxiety-inducing tone to begin with. The most recent contender to replace Yellowstone is also one of the best Western shows from the last decade. Netflix's American Primeval is a dramatization of the Utah War between members of the Church of Latter-day Saints and the United States government, along with several Native American tribes. American Primeval takes a harrowing and often depressing look at the reality of the mythical Old West, which often seems similar to, though to a much greater extent than, the way Yellowstone demystified the idea of a bucolic life on a ranch.